Your champagne glass trembles at 35,000 feet. The billionaire in seat 1A just locked the cockpit door from the inside. What if I told you that the man who paid $40,000 for first class wasn't running from the law, he was running from something inside him? But it started so innocently. My name is Dr. Alina Vasquez. I was the flight attendant in first class on TransPacific Flight 447, Los Angeles to Shanghai, March 14, 2019, and I need to tell you what really happened that night. The official report, medical emergency. The media, they called it isolated incident of in-flight disturbance. But the 12 of us who survived, we know the truth. Lesson 1, when something feels off at 35,000 feet, there's nowhere to run. The passenger in 1A checked in at 11:47 p.m. Late, alone, wearing sunglasses indoors. His name was Dominic Harlow, net worth $4.7 billion, reason for flying, that's where this gets complicated. Dominic Harlow built his empire the old-fashioned way, he stole it. Gene Tech Solutions, you've probably never heard of them, that's intentional. They operated in the shadows of the biotech world, developing something called Project Morpheus, gene therapy, experimental, illegal in 17 countries. 3 weeks before Flight 447, Dominic's former business partner, Dr. Thomas Calloway, disappeared, not missing person disappeared, vanished. His lab burned to the ground, his research gone, his family paid $50 million to stop asking questions. Lesson 2, when NDAs come with 8-figure payouts, someone's hiding something deadly. Little did anyone know, Dominic was already dying. I remember the moment he stepped onto the aircraft, 1A and 1B, the most expensive seats in the sky, just him, no companion, no assistant, but he carried something, a titanium briefcase, handcuffed to his wrist. Sir, you'll need to stow that, I said. He looked at me, really looked at me. His pupils were wrong, dilated, like black pools swallowing the color. This case doesn't leave my sight. His voice was smooth, controlled, but his hand trembling. I'll need privacy, he continued. Complete privacy, I have a medical condition. I'll be administering medication every 60 minutes. Do not disturb me, do not check on me, do you understand? I should have reported it, whispers in my training, whispers from protocol, whispers saying get the captain. But he handed me an envelope. Inside, a letter from the State Department, medical clearance, diplomatic immunity, and $5,000 in cash. For your discretion, he said. Lesson 3, when someone pays you to look away, they're hiding something you need to see. We sealed the door at 12:33 a.m., pushback at 12:41 a.m., wheels up at 12:58 a.m. By 1:47 a.m., the screaming started. First class on a TransPacific flight is a cathedral of silence. 14 passengers, noise-canceling headphones, champagne, $300 Wagyu beef. Dominic Harlow sat in 1A, briefcase open on his lap. Through the gap in the privacy divider, I watched him. The case contained 6 syringes, each one filled with liquid that glowed blue, not medical blue, not any blue I'd ever seen. At exactly 1:58 a.m., he rolled up his sleeve. The injection site, his neck, not his arm, his neck. He pressed the plunger, his body seized just for a second, then calm, too calm, like watching someone pull a drowning man from water. Coffee, he said without looking at me, black, no sugar. His voice had changed, flatter, like the emotion had been drained. I brought the coffee, his hands had stopped trembling. Lesson 4, addiction isn't always about pleasure, sometimes it's about staying human. At 2:58 a.m. he injected again, at 3:58 a.m. again, at 4:58 a.m. the case was empty. Little did we know, we had just entered the nightmare. 5:12 a.m., I was preparing breakfast service when I heard it, scratching, not like fingernails on fabric, like claws on metal. I pulled back the privacy divider. Dominic Harlow was staring at his hands, but they weren't his hands anymore. The fingers were longer. The nails darker, thicker, his veins bulged black against pale skin like ink spreading through water. Sir, are you? Get away from me. His voice, God, his voice, it came from somewhere deep, guttural like 2 voices overlapping. I need the pilot, he growled. I need to get there faster. He stood, 6'2" of twitching, convulsing billionaire. The passenger in 2A, an elderly woman, screamed. Dominic lunged, not to hurt her, to get past her. He was moving toward the cockpit. Lesson 5, when the cure becomes the disease, everyone becomes collateral. I hit the call button. Emergency code. Captain Hayes's voice crackled through. Vasquez report. We have a medical emergency. Passenger is violent, attempting to breach cockpit. Dominic slammed into the reinforced door with force that shouldn't have been human. The door dented. From inside the cockpit, the captain activated lockdown, but Dominic, he wasn't stopping. 10:47 a.m. local time, 6 hours into the flight. Dominic Harlow tore the cockpit door off its hinges, not unlocked it, not forced it open, tore it off. Captain Hayes and First Officer Winters turned in their seats. I was right behind Dominic, fire extinguisher in hand, completely useless. Sir, step away from the controls, the captain started. Dominic grabbed him by the throat, lifted him one-handed. Shanghai, Dominic hissed, get me to Shanghai now. His face, God, I can still see it, the bone structure had changed. Cheekbones sharper, jaw wider, eyes completely black now, no whites, no iris. Whispers from the radio, whispers from air traffic control, whispers declaring emergency descent. First Officer Winters reached for the emergency axe. Dominic moved faster. He threw Captain Hayes into the instrument panel. Alarms shrieked as the autopilot disengaged. The plane lurched. Dominic sat in the captain's seat and smiled. I know how to fly, he whispered. Dr. Calloway, he taught me everything. Lesson 6, the worst betrayals come from those who know exactly how you think. That's when I understood this wasn't random, this wasn't psychosis. Dominic Harlow had injected himself with Project Morpheus, his own research, because he was dying, terminal cancer, 6 months to live. The injections, they weren't medication, they were transformation. Gene editing serum designed to rewrite human DNA, to cure disease by making you something else. And when the serum ran out, the rewrite continued, without stabilizers, without limits. He was becoming something new, something hungry. Something that needed to reach Shanghai because that's where the antidote was hidden, in Dr. Calloway's secret lab. Dominic shoved the yoke forward, the plane dove, passengers not strapped in slammed into ceilings, overhead bins exploded open, luggage became projectiles. I grabbed the doorframe as the G-forces tried to rip me backward. Level the plane, I screamed. Dominic turned his head 180 degrees, I'm not exaggerating, 180 degrees like an owl. I'm going home, he said in that dual voice, and nothing will stop me. Captain Hayes, bleeding from his head, grabbed the spare headset. Mayday, 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 TransPacific 447, cockpit breach, requesting military intercept. Dominic crushed the headset with his bare hand. Whispers from my faith, whispers from my training, whispers that we were all going to die. But First Officer Winters, she wasn't done. She lunged for the circuit breaker panel, killed the autopilot trim, unlocked manual override. The plane bucked. Dominic roared, not human, not animal, something between, and backhanded her across the cockpit. She hit the wall, didn't move. I did the only thing I could think of. I grabbed the titanium briefcase. Looking for these, I shouted. Dominic froze, his black eyes locked onto the case. The serum, he whispered, where is the rest? There is no rest, I said, you used it all, this is what you are now. Lesson 7, sometimes the only way to fight a monster is to show them the mirror. For just a moment, one fragile human moment, I saw Dominic Harlow again, not the billionaire, not the creature, the terrified man who'd injected himself with an experimental cure and lost. A single tear, black as ink, rolled down his mutated face. I just wanted to live, he whispered. Then the plane's emergency oxygen masks deployed. The cabin pressure was failing. 15,000 feet. Dominic released the controls. The plane leveled barely. He stood, swaying, staring at his hands, those twisted, darkened hands. Dr. Calloway, he said softly. He knew this would happen, he warned me. Where is he, I asked. Where's Dr. Calloway? Dominic smiled, no humanity left in it. He's waiting, Dominic said, in Shanghai, in the lab with the reset protocol, but he won't give it to me, not after what I did. What did you do? I whispered. Dominic leaned close. I infected him first, to test it. My own partner, and when he survived, I burned the lab so he couldn't cure himself, so he'd need me. Whispers from the co-conspirators, whispers from the blackmail, whispers that Dominic Harlow wasn't a victim, he was a monster long before the serum. Captain Hayes, barely conscious, grabbed the yoke. "We're landing," he growled, "emergency descent into Anchorage." "No," Dominic lunged and I swung the titanium briefcase into his skull. He staggered backward, through the open cockpit door, into the first-class cabin, where 13 passengers stood armed with fire extinguishers, wine bottles, and raw terror. We didn't kill him, but we contained him, zip-tied his wrists with seatbelt extensions, duct-taped his ankles. 4 passengers held him down while Captain Hayes made an emergency landing. Anchorage International Airport, 11:34 a.m. Alaska time. FBI surrounded the plane. Hazmat teams extracted Dominic Harlow. He was still changing. They transferred him to a CDC black site facility, classified location. The official story: passenger subdued after attempting unauthorized cockpit access. But here's what they didn't tell you. 3 weeks after Flight 447, Dr. Thomas Calloway surfaced, alive, healthy, and when they tested his blood, no trace of Project Morpheus. He'd cured himself, but he refuses to share it, refuses to help Dominic, refuses to explain how. Last week I received a letter, no return address. Inside, a single photograph: Dominic Harlow is gone, and on the back of the photo, in handwriting that's barely legible, "Shanghai, the reset, I'm coming for what's mine." So here's my question for you. What if the real monster wasn't the serum? What if it was always Dominic? And what if Dr. Calloway is next? This is part 1. Part 2 drops next week. The Shanghai Protocol: Dr. Calloway's Revenge. Subscribe now, comment below. Who's the real villain, Dominic or Calloway? Hit like if this gave you chills.